Welcome to RMC. Today we have 6 RWBs here. We just had 7, 1 left. We're gonna be going over kind of the differences of an extension of your style and character through RWBs and not just cookie cutter builds, from turbo OG non-wide body RWBs to backdated to real idlers race car to beautiful cruiser on tries, our first commissioned RWB, and then just a really stylish US build. Even though the US cars are typically pretty cookie cutter, the ones that we have are usually a little different, a little more stylish, not trying to hype our own shit up, but you know. So Genabel being one of the first or earlier US builds, I think this is number 3 for LA. This is what we would consider a US OG build. It was kind of built with that old school mentality, at least in style, with the Kamiwa, a double decker, fender extensions, pretty stylish car. This is a stock motored car with a flywheel, headers, but this was built in that era of kind of car shows being very popular. This car has a Brembo Trophy big brake kit, Prazis Air, so it's not your typical air ride. This is Japanese air ride from Kazuki, from Madlane. So it's very nice, adjustable suspension. Personally, obviously, we like to have bigger power builds, and you know, I think this car might be undergoing a twin turbo kit and a built motor with the future owner. We're gonna see, you know, coming soon with that. Obviously, everything else is there. So taking this car to the next level, although it's already been built for 10 years, this was not built to flip. This was a pretty cool car, you know, and before there was hype, they weren't building this shit just to make money, like I said. So a lot of little details and a lot of OG RWB parts that you not see in a lot of the modern builds. It is stylish, you know, again, it doesn't have stock brakes and stock interior, and it doesn't lack style. So this is one of the cooler cars. This is the first car that we've had done by Nakai. It was done in Japan. After about 2.5 years of waiting, we found a really nice G50 mint green, repainted mint green 911. It's got a 3.6 ITBs, Motec, good suspension, 964 brakes, a lot of OG parts, and I kind of wanted to make a old school style RWB. So a lot of period correct shit, most importantly, and kind of driver oriented mods, not so much just comfort and more lack thereof, and make it funner to drive, make it lighter. It isn't a track car, but this would be considered what we would consider a nice street track car, potentially HPDE. From the Kevlar SPGs, which you'll never find, to the swap, you know, in these cars, again, now people are getting way too fancy doing Subaru motors and VR6s and K swaps, and I don't care for any of that shit. It doesn't really work unless you are an engineer and you go through 7 motors. And I don't know, for me, I like to keep it true. Call me an RWB purist, I guess. I like to keep it true to its roots, keep the whole feel and style correct to what my favorite era of RWB was. So this car is kind of an extension of what we like. So personally, I'm a huge fan of cabs. As long as they're in cruiser form, I'm not trying to add GT2 deck lids and make it look like a race car. I think that there is a space for someone to have a flossy car, to cruise around, top down, you know, be oozing style. This being Mark's personal car for the last 1.5 years. He had it built in California, obviously, on behalf of Illis. He had the Motegis, the blades done, custom to this car, and he did a very subtle kit. And I'm very much so on that murdered out look right now. I don't know what it is, but I think it's hot. These cars are already pretty loud. So, you know, again, having like a highlighter color on a stock 911 isn't really my style. If I'm gonna cruise something, I'd love to, you know, take my chick to dinner in this, or just cruise around, literally. I think if you're, this is actually a cool car to have. I mean, I'd literally have one of each style. I've had a race car, I would have a street track car, a cruiser, I don't know. I would have like 15 of them personally. I think that this is how to execute a Cabriolet 964, and this is how I would do it personally as well. Cavallino 2, this is one of Nakai's best friends. This car was built, I want to say 2007, between 2004 and 2007, this car was built. This was a idler sprint car, not a 12-hour, 24-hour endurance car. This was a car that was built to go fast for 30 minutes. I think the fastest recorded time was 1 minute and 1.7 seconds at Tsukuba. And then obviously they raced it at other tracks around Japan. This is a 87 G50 base. It was built by Challenge Hirakowa, which did the engine, transmission, suspension, and brake settings. Nakai on this car obviously did the whole thing. Carbon roof, lightweight doors, smooth fender, which you're not gonna see on any builds going forward. Very rare to see at least. He did 1 of 4 Lexan firewalls, so this car wide open throttle body. Wide open throttle, all you hear is essentially the engine in your ear screaming, and it is the most exhilarating feeling and sound. This is 5 senses driving. It is a car not for amateurs for sure, but it is very street friendly if you do know what you're doing. This car for us has a lot of history, and this is what paved the way for all of the RWBs going forward. This is all the OG goodness, from the SSR SP1s to the styling, of course, to full Lexan, to the true roots of what RWB should be. Not that they all shouldn't be their own way, but this is how it started, and this is what we consider to be a highly collectible RWB going forward. And I think that these cars are gonna go through the roof as people start to realize that they're building cars to please communities and not themselves. And this car is literally just oozing in personal affection and style, from the interior being metallic blue to the pastel exterior, again to the smooth fender, to even the color that they chose to go with the fan and the shrouds. This car will never be replicated again. This is truly a one-off piece. All right, so this being kind of a double build, being that it's got the Sierra Madre backdate plus the RWB. A lot of people are it's very popular to have 964 backdates, and then to have the RWB on top. I think this kind of makes it a very unique build in that sense. And there's a very sorted dialed headers, lightweight flywheel, KWB3s with airlift, just a lot of really nice components throughout the car. Very stylish. The wheel setup right now with the Fuchs and the mini light look is kind of original to 911 ST, when Porsche didn't have a wide Fuchs to run on flared out 911s in the 70s. So I like that they did that style with this car. This car was built, I think it was built in Oregon. This car's name is Spectra. You know, this car will be for sale as well. Very stylish, kind of just a newer looks and what people are going for. This car is very near and dear to my heart, just like all of them are in their own ways, but this is truly me, like what I would have built if I was in that era. There's a video on Video Option that they replicate Wangan Midnight, and they actually take a 930 RWB with just fender flares, factory fender flares, with a turbo kit built by Front Row Ito Engineering, and it's a very similar vibe to this. I found this RWB at auction about 2 years ago. The car was in not the best shape. The paint was nice, and it had all the RWB proper stuff. It had the matter cage, it had a bunch of cool parts, but I knew the car was gonna need a lot of love. Going forward, we had a shop called Zio Performance in Japan, dropped the drivetrain. We did a split case engine rebuild, big cams, ported the head, piston, rod, big 9280 turbo. No, I'll get the exact size.
G32 85 Turbo.
Motec, so EFI conversion. Car made 437 wheel, tuned by Avo Motec over there. So as you see the car, it kind of was already like this. It didn't have the 3.8 RS wing, which we did change, and that's because we'll plug in a picture to see like the original style that I was going for. We did big brakes, so we did Brembo F40s and 360s in the back. We cleaned up the front bumper, kept it more TBK style, but this wasn't TBK. This is actually M's Machines, which actually kind of created all of these kits before anybody. And just the fog lights are a little different and whatnot. This car, to me, is what a proper like Wangan Slipstream style RWB should be. And again, you know, kind of just touching on all the different styles. You know, anybody that just looks at an RWB and has like this one like idea is kind of naive to what RWB should be. How this thing sounds now kind of matches definitely the look of the car. To me, this is one of the coolest RWBs that we've had, and we've gone through about 40 and change RWBs. I know everybody knows more than me and I don't know shit, but this is definitely, this is what we fuck with.